Hello, YouTube. In an earlier video, I claimed that I should be examining myself as well as examining the claims made by representatives of multi-level marketing companies, MLMs. And I did so. I asked ChatGPT to analyze the statements that I made in a video in which I attempted to reconstruct an income disclosure statement for iGenius where there is none. As you remember, ChatGPT in that video made a series of charts based on publicly available data showing just how lousy and unequal the income distribution, so-called, in iGenius is, and that made the following conclusions. The distribution of income was highly skewed. Most distributors earned minimal or no net profit, and a very small fraction got a disproportionately large share of the total commissions. ChatGPT did take me to task for hyperbole, and this was very useful. This is a useful exercise. If I'm going to be hyperbolic, I have to make darn sure that the listener understands that I'm being hyperbolic. For example, when I say that nobody is making $1 million, I mean it in the sense that practically nobody is making $1 million. There probably is somebody, one individual in particular, maybe two, who are making $1 million. But I was using an archaic rhetorical device, which perhaps I shouldn't have used, and that was useful to know. This is how I came up with that analysis. I asked ChatGPT to evaluate the claims that I made in that transcript, and this is the summary that they made. Although they said that there were no $1 million earners and that was true, they did caveat me in an earlier slide and told me, yeah, you should be careful with the hyperbole. Most people lose money, they said was true. There's extreme income inequality. There is a recruitment dependency. I used transparent modeling. They patted me on the back for that and agreed with me that it's an unprofitable opportunity. And this was their final assessment. They said that my analysis was, speaking of patting myself on the back, rigorous, transparent, and consistent with public data. They said that my findings aligned with the broader MLM research done by others and conclusions of the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission. And they said that iGenius indeed is not a viable income opportunity for an average participant. And in conclusion, the claims that I made were factually accurate and analytically defensible. So I did an experiment in control. I used a live weekly update made by Anthony Napolitano. One was made today, the 21st of October, 2025, but the transcript was not available, so I used one from a week ago in which Anthony expounds on the state of the cryptocurrency market. And this is what they said about his analysis. They said, well, what was solid was about it is that he did describe some leverage-driven liquidations, some altcoin illiquidities, some risk management cautions. He is good about that. Coinbase card features and the Bitfarms PA angle. Now, they did emphasize some caveats. I want to put this in some context. When Anthony speaks live, he often misspeaks, even when he's reading from a script. For example, at the ANMP, the Association of Network Marketing Professionals conference, where he gave a canned speech, Anthony claimed that the four original owners, the founders of iGenius, were fired. And there is no evidence of that. I mean, maybe he was speaking the truth, and the question is, who fired them? The board was essentially them. So in that context, look at bullet point number 2. What needed caveats were some claims that he made about this $1 billion in 10 minutes. He garbled the price of Bitcoin in various places, and again, he was speaking live, and he probably simply forgot. He said things like the Federal Reserve was going to the Fed was going to cut the short-term interest rate, and he phrased it as this month or next. But he actually there actually is a published date of, or dates, I should say, of subsequent Fed meetings, and Anthony booted it. And he made a comment about the next Fed chairman, which was factually untrue because the next term is over in more than a year. So he gets some things wrong. Net, they said that he provided some useful trading color. I think that's a good assessment, and some reasonable macro takeaways. But on his key specifics, he was a little bit loosey-goosey about the price of Bitcoin and some other things. And apparently his listeners don't care. The recommendation for him is that he really should use primary sources like the Fed calendar, ETF daily volume pages, company releases, et cetera, or rather his listeners should do this before they act on particulars. Okay, now a positive control. This is one of my favorite podcasts. This is the Real Eisman Playbook, featuring Steve Eisman on the left. And this was released today, an interview that he did with two analysts. And they spoke for about an hour on a number of topics. And this was the big picture assessment that ChatGPT made based on the transcript of that conversation. What was strong and accurate, they said, was they talked about Google's antitrust suit with Apple, ad spending on major platforms. Very interesting, by the way. I highly recommend this podcast. And on the story of the CEO swap at Verizon. What they said required caveats was interesting because big picture, these analysts were giving opinions. Well, that's what Steve was asking them for. They were also a little hyperbolic. They said that the remedies let the Apple search deal continued. I mean, that's really not nothing. Really a fascinating settlement between Apple and Google. This characterization of this deal between Google and Apple, which was the subject of the litigation, it was characterized as bribery. That indeed was the opinion of the speakers, not a legal finding. They speculated about what Apple was going to do and what with Siri, and they also speculated quite a bit about fiber versus coaxial cable, which was interesting. But they really were theses, not facts. But really, that's all that Steve was asking them for. And the bottom line was that this was a mix of accurate event facts and analyst interpretation. The near-term theses that they gave as scenarios would really, as a caveat, you should watch out for formal announcements and regulatory decisions, et cetera, et cetera. So by comparison, Anthony Napolitano did not do so badly in comparison with Steve Eisman this week. He does not always do so well. The point is that some self-examination, including critical examination of any claim that you hear, is worth your while, because folks, your skills, knowledge, and experience are too valuable to waste in an MLM. And that's all I got. See you in the next one.